This is the first time we've seen you, Mr. Mulcair, since October 19th. Why did it take so long? Well, we had a great deal of work to do at the national level, and you can imagine that I was on the phone with all the outgoing MPs, and there were a lot of people, and there were employees as well. So we had a lot to do, and I would never deprive myself of the pleasure to talk to you, but there was a lot to do, and now I've just come out of a very strong caucus meeting, and I'm very pleased to be back in Parliament. Why were there not the people there today who lost their seats? Well, it's a proud tradition of the NDP, and I believe that we're the only party that has that rule, that the former members should be there, and we will be having a reception. My wife will be with me tomorrow, but Anne McGrath, the national director, who is president of the party, had the mandate to start to prepare a formal review of every aspect of the campaign, and that will include consultations with all of the outgoing MPs. Now, were there 44 MPs? Well, there was Ginny Sims, who did come from BC. She's an outgoing MP. And, of course, Paul Dewar was there as well. This morning you said that you intend to be in the job again in 2019 and to lead your troops to victory. I'd like to know to what extent you're confident that activists and people in your party will allow you to continue to be leader. I am the leader of the party, as long as the members want me to be the leader. I replaced Jack. This was my first election campaign as the chief, as the leader, and the result is not the one we wanted, but we do have a solid and a very strong team that will provide very progressive opposition to the governing party. But are you confident that they will leave you where you are? Yes, I am, because what I've just seen in that caucus meeting was so much energy and so much positive energy. People know that we lost a lot, and especially some very, very good MPs, friends and colleagues. But we also have a proud tradition, and have had that for 50 years, to present a social democratic vision of what we can do together. And I would even add that 10 years ago, it would have been unthinkable to say that the NDP had real roots in Quebec. But now we got 25% of the popular vote. We have 16 MPs, and in every region of the province, whether it's Trois-Rivières or Rimouski or Jonquière or Montreal, we have people right across Quebec who are there because they represent progressive forces that are looking to the future.
Do you take any personal responsibility for what happened?
I assume all of the responsibility as leader of the party, but at the same time we know that this is the second best result we've ever had in terms of the number of seats. 3.5 million Canadians put their confidence in the NDP. They know that on important issues that we can be trusted to make sure that the government carries through on big promises like Aboriginal people in Canada establishing a nation-to-nation approach for once. We want to make sure that on the environment we set real goals as we go to the Paris conference. So there are lots of issues on which we've been working hard, that the government has said a certain number of things. We're going to be a very constructive, progressive opposition, and we're going to make sure that the government follows through on those promises.
Are you heading to Paris, and what are you expecting from Trudeau when he's there? And do you think that his plan is sufficient to actually address the limits that he's going to be?
I have not been invited thus far to attend the COP21, I guess it is, in Paris. And I haven't heard from them. I did find out through another party leader in the papers that I was going to be, but nothing has materialized on that front so far. If invited, of course, I'll be very proud to go. I've been to several of the conferences of the parties. I spoke on behalf of Canada at the Milan conference because there was a pretty well-hung parliament at the time, and I was the one who wound up giving the speech there. So it's something that I've followed a great deal. I've worked on a lot over the past 12 years, and I would hope actually to be able to go.
If you had something to do, if you had something...
I'm coming right to you.
You talk about the fact that there's a lot of work to do, that you will be a very good opposition, but how did you rally your team?
What was the most important for me today is to remind people of what we've accomplished. We had set out to get rid of Stephen Harper's Conservatives, and people were coming up to me individually and collectively and saying, look, we had set as our #1 priority to make sure that this was an end to Stephen Harper's Conservatives. And you know what? check that box, mission accomplished. We would have preferred to have been with the NDP. But we know that we've got a progressive view for what we can accomplish together. We were talking about things that were really resonating well with Canadians. We have a strong view of our place in the world, a strong view of what we can do to make this a more fair society. And how did I rally the team? I would dare say that the team rallied itself. I sense such strong positive energy in the NDP caucus that I am very confident going forward that Canadians are going to look at us as they never have before. And when we talk about what we have accomplished over the last 8 years, I would say that setting down roots across the country, we've got back 3 seats in our birthplace, Saskatchewan, where we had not won a single seat in the last 5 federal general elections. We swept Vancouver Island seats. And you know what? Despite the fact that we hit a wall in Atlantic Canada, we've got a base there. And we're just going to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep going because we know the Canadians want that powerful, progressive voice here in Parliament.
It's the first time we've had a chance to talk to you since the election. So if someone asks you, if you had a regret, if you had something that if you could do it again, you'd do it differently, what would it be?
Well, we would have won if I had been able to make up a different ending. But what we are going to do is that Anne McGrath, our national director, together with Rebecca Blakey, the party president, have been given a strong mandate to put together a top-level team of people, not people necessarily who are involved in the campaign, but they're going to go out and talk to all our constituencies. So that includes the provincial parties. That includes our brothers and sisters in the labour movement. That includes across the country people who have worked so hard, and it includes outgoing MPs. So we're going to make sure that we consult with all of them and see what we could have done differently.
As the person responsible for this party, you said you took responsibility for what you won and what you lost. What would you have done differently?
Well, I think that some of the aspects of that are exactly what Anne McGrath is going to be looking at. And since I want that to be based on an outside objective evaluation, I do have my own ideas on that, but I'm going to let Anne do the work. Otherwise, I'll be undermining that work. Je vais laisser ceux qui n'ont pas encore posé de questions y aller.
Why doing this today when the swearing-in ceremony is taking place? People say you may want to be discreet with your caucus. No, it's just connected to the fact that people were shutting down their offices today and we're on the Hill, and we have something organized for tomorrow, and also people opening up their new offices we're here to do. We're here today as well. What do you think of the new cabinet that's just been sworn in? Well, this is a cabinet that represents every province and every region of the country, and in that sense, it's a good thing. So I would like to give them a fair chance to succeed. There were a lot of promises made in this campaign, and as an opposition party with 44 MPs, 2/3 of whom have a lot of experience, and also some new MPs who have a lot of experience outside Parliament, I'm confident. I'm confident that we'll be able to ask the right questions on behalf of Canadians and force the government to account. But as I say, we'll give them a chance to get organized today.
Those who haven't had a question yet.
Why are you now calling yourselves the progressive opposition?
I think that it's important that people understand that it is a social democratic party that has put a lot of these ideas forward. The NDP for years now has fought hard for a progressive vision of Canada, the number one job being to remove inequality in our society. That's why we put a lot of the ideas on the table that we did put on the table, and Canadians reacted well to it. 3.5 million Canadians, in fact, voted for that progressive option. We set out to get rid of Stephen Harper's Conservatives as our top priority. Mission accomplished. I would have preferred it be with the NDP, but we're going to give every chance to this new government, and we're going to be able to hold them to account. We're going to ask the tough questions when the time comes, but for today, we notice with good interest that the new cabinet does contain the new cabinet includes people from every province and every region of Canada, and I think overall that's a good thing.
You lost a lot of your veteran critics in the election, and I'm wondering, A, when are we going to see your critic list, and B, how do you plan to educate some of your rookie MPs who will become critics on handling those portfolios? Well,
thanks for that question, and we only got the size, the shape, and the scope of cabinet today. Right? There have been a lot of predictions, for example, that it was going to be well under 30. It turns out that it's over 30, a bit bigger than we thought. So there was no way to match that move until we saw the cabinet. Now that we've seen it, I'm going to proceed rapidly. I would hope that prior to the November 11th Remembrance Day break that I'd be able to have everyone with those assignments. We've got, by the way, it's worth noting, and I was giving that indication in French before, If you look at the CVs of the people who just got elected for the NDP for the first time, you're going to be very impressed. These are very solid people. So they might not have experience here, but boy, do they bring a wealth of experience and expertise to the job. I'm just going to go to those who haven't had a question yet.
You say mission accomplished, or you've gotten rid of Stephen Harper, but I'd like to understand why this is on account of you with only 44 MPs elected. Well, what we accomplished here in the House of Commons in the last 4 years was to show all the ethical failures of the Conservative government, all their weaknesses in terms of their management of the economy and on the environment. Well, we don't even need to comment on that. So we did try to force the government to account, and in debates, I was very, very direct and aggressive in terms of demonstrating that Stephen Harper did not deserve the confidence of Canadians. So yes, I think the NDP was the only real opposition that Mr. Harper ever had to face, and it's one of the reasons why we were able to defeat his government. I think the NDP did its job as the best official opposition that Ottawa's ever seen.
Governing Liberals, any sort of policy accord, any sort of agreement at all?
Oh, I mean, all you have to do is look at our respective programs to know that on some issues that we were saying similar things. But the real question is what's actually going to be done, and that's where we come in as a progressive opposition. I'll give you a very simple example. We said, and it would appear that the Liberals said, that we would restore door-to-door mail delivery. Now, the Conservatives have more seats than the NDP does, but if the Liberals don't move on that as much as they said they did, I don't think that the Conservatives are going to be raising it because they're the ones who wanted to get rid of door-to-door mail delivery, just to give you that one concrete example. So I think that Canadians understand that the NDP has always had a progressive vision, socially, economically, internationally, environmentally. That's us. That's who we are. And we're a party of principle, and people recognize that in us. So they'll expect us to be able to take that to the new government and say, okay, this is what's been promised, but now you've got to deliver, and that's what being an opposition party is about.
Missing and murdered Aboriginal women.
Yes.
In terms of the inquiry, which
Yes.
the Liberals have vowed to move immediately
Yes.
on, what would you like to see in terms of first steps and in terms of laying out the scope of what the inquiry will actually look like?
I like that question because I think that one of the first things that has to be done if we're going to have an inquiry into murdered and missing Indigenous women in Canada is to consult on the mandate. So I don't think one of the chronic problems in dealing with our First Peoples has always been top-down, trying to decide things for them. So I think that there has to be an open consultative process where we bring people in and allow them to define what that mandate's going to be. And if it does move forward as promised, I think that's an important event. I think that it is one of the most important things that a government has to do is to restore, to bring in a nation-to-nation relationship with our First Peoples. And if the Liberals do move in that direction, they will have my support every step of the way.